Good afternoon. Today is the 6th of March and it's time for yet another very vague, not particularly interesting and probably quite boring vlog. Sometimes I get asked by channel viewers how it is I actually get cars in for review on my channel. Some of these methods are quite obvious, some of them perhaps aren't. And there are 5 different ways that a car channel on YouTube might actually get cars. Some of them are interrelated, but some of them are quite separate. Now, the first way that you might get a car for review on a channel is actually that you already own the car, and assuming that you're, insured to drive it. Some people own cars they're not insured to drive. Sometimes that is the case. Then, off you go. You can film that car. You can do, what you like within the realms of the law. The second way is that you go to a dealership and say, I like the car that you have. I would like to feature it on my channel. And you'll notice that quite a number of the recent episodes of Sensible Second-Hand Reviews are from one particular dealership in Essex, known as Langley Prestige, near Chelmsford. Simon, who runs that dealership along with his colleague Dale, is a fan of the channel. He contacted me and said, would you like to film some cars? These are the cars that I currently have. Personally, I also have some cars in stock. If the car's in stock, then you can film it. And over the last 2.5 years, we filmed many cars there, and it's a very useful thing for me to do, to go down there and just to film what Simon has in stock. He's very happy for me to do that, which is really nice of him. And normally I do about 6 cars when I'm there, and that can change daily. The last time I went down there, 6 cars I filmed on the day. 3 of them I did not know I was filming until that day. The changeover of stock in there, or in something like Chop's Garage, which a lot of you would have seen Chop's Garage on YouTube, is really quick. It makes it quite exciting in a way, because when I go down there, I don't know what I'm going to film. So that's really good. It's actually quite difficult to get dealership contacts, particularly if you're a smaller channel, because if they don't know who you are, they're not going to let you film these cars and go off your own in them and things like that, because they don't know if you are going to be sort of reasonable in what you say. Now, of course, it's okay to be honest about things and to point out the advantages and disadvantages of a certain car, but if you just constantly focus on all the disadvantages and say nothing positive about it, why would a dealership give you a car? Why would they do that? What benefit is that to them? So yeah, there's the dealership, and that's been very successful for me. I also have a relationship with Summit Garage in Dudley, and they're very good at providing me with the latest MG models. I've got other cars there as well, apart from MGs, but it's mainly we go there because John and Nick, who are the 2 brothers who sort of run various parts of the dealership, although John's the dealer principal, they are very happy for me to film things if they've got them available. Obviously, if cars are being loaned out to people, I can't film them. There might be other reasons, maybe they don't work, but it's amazingly good to have that sort of relationship. Also, Platinum Sanyong and Froome, where I bought the Tivoli, they've allowed me to do some of their Sanyongs as well. That really helps. The third way is to just buy the car yourself. If you want to review it, just buy it. You'll notice on High Peak Autos, it's a channel that started at the same time as me, although Matt has been considerably more successful than I have in terms of building up an enormous subscriber base. And he makes very good videos. A lot of you would say it's not really to my taste, and that's absolutely fine. I don't agree with everything that he says. Of course I don't. You never will agree with everything that somebody says about a certain car. In fact, you'll never agree completely with everyone about life, as my lady wife and I sometimes find out. It's just not possible. So, you don't want to watch these channels I'm mentioning, then don't. It's up to you. These are examples of people, how they get their cars. Matt just often just buys them, and I bought the cheapest whatever I could find, or I bought a cheap this or whatever, and having had the £100 Renault Clio on the channel recently, I know a lot of you like to see really cheap cars. That's absolutely fine. He also drives expensive cars. He's got quite a few of them. I'm not really into the sort of really high-end stuff myself, just to use personally. It's just my preference. I prefer to spend money on something else, but he does show some very nice cars, so you can just buy them. That's another thing you can do. The next thing that you can do is contact a manufacturer and say, can you please give me a car? Now, this isn't as totally absurd as it says. Manufacturers have PR or press departments, and generally manufacturers do have dedicated press cars. That's why you'll hear me refer to as a press car that is registered by the manufacturer. So, for example, in 2020, Mr. Richardson, the Furious Driving, had a Suzuki Ignis on test for a week, and he said to me, would you also like to film this Ignis? And back in those days, it's a bit different now. If you wanted someone else to drive the press car that you had for a week, you could just contact the manufacturer and say, this is the last information of this particular person, and they're going to be driving it on this day, or a couple of days. And that's really very kind of for me. So I was in touch with Suzuki, got my license details, and that was it. I drove that car through Jacket Reviews, and he very kindly filmed it for me. Although he had it for a week, I only had it for maybe, an hour or two, possibly. So that's something you can do. It's very difficult, actually, to get press cars. It's far more difficult than it used to be. Much more difficult. It's why you don't see so many on the channel. Now, I understand this completely. Manufacturers cut their press fleets considerably after 2020. They cut them right back to save money. And so there aren't as many press cars available. And also, the number of automotive channels that have cropped up in the last few years is huge. There's so many more channels now than there used to be. So if you ask them for a car and you have, 100 subscribers, that's not really much of a track record for them to do it. People sometimes do get. I got my first press car on about 300 or 400 subscribers from MG Motor UK. I was recommended to just contact them by Mr. and Mrs. Quirk from Planet Auto, who've had press cars since about 2018 or something. So it might even be before, maybe 2017 actually. So that was the traditional way of doing it. You say, I'm so and so, I have this channel, and you think about cars that have been either supplied to you by manufacturers that might be relevant, and you say, this is what I do, I'd like to borrow this car, please. And that's all it is. I had an MG3 at the time, and so I said, could I please borrow a facelifted MG3? And the PR agency who worked for MG at the time, it's completely different now, we don't use the same agency at all, said, okay, well, had a little chat with me, rang me up and just asked me some questions, and they said, okay, well, it shouldn't be a problem, we'll get it to you. I think it was in July that I had it, and actually it worked out well for both me and Mr. Richardson, who also has been able to film the car on one of the days that I had it. I went down to Surrey and we filmed it there for him, as well as when we filmed it for me. We did two of these in one go, which was very good. I was happy to do that. So there's this sort of thing that goes on sometimes where the channels, in this case Furious Driving and I, sort of shared out the press car, and we have done that a couple of times. So yeah, that can be a way, but it's very difficult if you have a smaller channel to get press cars. It really is. There's lots of competition, and if they don't know you, sometimes you have to introduce yourself to a new sort of PR team, and somebody leads because they don't know, the person who's coming in doesn't know who you are, so you have to sort of kind of just make them aware of who you are and all this sort of stuff. And I might be trying to ask MG for another press car at some point this year. I might do. I've had a lot of their range anyway. There's only one particular car that I'm actually missing that I haven't actually filmed in the current range in terms of doing a full review. So I might be trying to get one of those on the channel, but I don't know. It's taken a long time because I am quite a small channel. I might have some nice reviews on there, but if you say that on my best MG review only gets 24,000 views, whereas somebody could say, well, I can put an MG out and I get 400,000 views, then obviously they're going to favour the bigger channel over you, even if you've been very loyal. And that's just something you have to get used to with getting press cars or not getting press cars. These days what I tend to do is go along once or twice a year to events organised by the Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders, or SMMT, and yeah, just kind of go along there where they have all the manufacturers at one day and then some at the regional day, the smaller one. And I prefer a regional one because it's a lot less intimidating. The big one at Millbrook, which I went to last year, I'm glad to have done it, but it was a very exhausting experience doing that, and you don't get the best results anyway because they're not really geared up for people to film on YouTube, so you can't really get anywhere which kind of in any way decent sort of film. Whereas the smaller one, which in this case is the southern one, which happens in Basingstoke, it's a lot easier to get away for maybe half an hour and take the car to somewhere that looks nice, it's out in the country, and just do it in a more relaxed way. And you haven't got a ton of other people trying to use the same tracks as you, and in my case being pursued around the Alpine circuit at Millbrook in a Skoda, which they wasn't the best. So I'm such a privilege to do it. I mean, again, it's very hard to get on those days. You have to have some prior relationship with manufacturers generally to get on a press day, but some manufacturers will tell you that you need to go to the press day to actually get cars from them anyway. So, for example, with Sanyong, I'm always in touch with the press department, maybe once every couple of months, and just say hello to the press department there. I haven't actually even been offered a car from them because, well, I'm quite a small channel anyway, and Sanyong's had some management changes and things, so they don't have many press cars anyway, and some of them don't have vendors we can talk about on the channel, so that's why you don't see them a lot. So what will happen in the future? Will I get one? I don't know. Who knows? And this is the thing. It's like people sometimes say to me, "Can you get a car on my channel?" And it really depends. One of the major coups I had was getting both the Dacia Sandero Stepway and the brand new Renault Arcana on the channel in September 2021. The Arcana's not done particularly well, but I was one of the first people in this country to film that on YouTube. It's not really my kind of car particularly, but it was amazing to do that. The Sandero Stepway did very well, and it was the first Dacia I've ever had on my channel, and it was a press car. It was incredible. I didn't have very long with it, obviously about half an hour, but that is a very useful event for me to go along to. I really enjoyed it, and the MG4 that I filmed there was one of the first channels to film one. That did really well, so I'm very happy to all of you who watched the footage from those SMMT days. The last way, and this is something that you know, is the bulk of cars you'll see on the channel, is that simply people offer them to me. I've just been offered a Saab for review by someone who actually already had two cars on the channel. He just sent me a message yesterday and said, I've now got another Saab. You've already got one. I've got another one. Would you like to film it? And that's simply why in this video and all the other videos you'll see, my email address appears very prominently, because that's the primary way that I get cars. Now, there is a sort of another way which is sort of related to this, is that I know someone already and say, you know, I've seen a car that you have either on the internet or just in person, and I'd like to film it. And that does happen as well, but it's far more that, like, you know, somebody says, I've got this car, would you like to film it? The £100 Renault Clio was just offered to me by somebody who'd seen some of my shambolic shuffles, a chap called Hayden, and you know, he'd seen actually his family's cars in them, and he said, would you like to film mine? I've got another one as well coming up. You've probably seen by now anyway, because with these videos, they come out for the channel members on the Row 45 and Set Toledo membership tiers weeks before they come out for the general audience, and you don't have to become a channel member or anything like that unless you want to. But you know, that's the way that these things go. I'm recording this a long time in advance of everyone else seeing it, which is a bit strange, but you know, it's up to you what you want to do. Anyway, thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching. It's been quite a long video, I do apologise. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment below. We shall see you again soon for more absolutely incoherent rambling.